We are on Insta Live. Welcome aboard. Ryan Tuberty with you on the bookshelf. It's a book club. This is something we've been doing once a month for the last little while, and we've enjoyed ourselves no end doing it. We had Roisin O'Donnell with Nesting. We had Joseph O'Connor with his recent book on the Roman trilogy, if you like. And today we are here for the next little while to answer your questions, take your opinions, your views. You can leave them all in the comments boxes there. And we're going to talk to Louise Hegarty. And Louise Hegarty is the author of Fair Play, which is a book that landed, like so many books do, whether it's in the flat in London, or I call it the student flat, or in my home in Dublin. Either way, they land in and we look at them and some of them just jump out. And Louise's just jumped out. It was right up my street because it was a very, very different type of, I don't know if whodunit. I'm not sure what. Why don't we ask her herself? Louise, welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Hi, thanks so much.
And congratulations on Fair Play. Majestic work. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
But before we do anything, we need to get a sense of who you are. So tell us where you're from and where you grew up and what got you into reading and writing.
So I'm from Cork and I still live in Cork. And I suppose, my background of kind of getting into writing was through reading. My parents were big believers in reading.
Great.
They really encouraged us to read. And from a very young age, I had an idea that I also then wanted to write. I liked writing stories, and that kind of developed, especially then by the time I got to teenage years, I was kind of writing quite seriously with a view to then being published.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me about your folks. What were they doing with themselves work-wise and life-wise?
So my dad works as a solicitor and my mom is a bookkeeper. So neither of them work in the arts, but
But they're bookish.
They're bookish, yeah. And they're interested in the arts in general, and they read a lot of detective fiction as well.
Oh,
We
yes.
we were brought up with that, and brought up with watching Poirot and Miss Marple on television.
Oh, okay.
And things like that.
Yeah, your folks are kind of my kind of people. Okay, I like this. So the kind of books that you would have seen on the shelf when you were kind of 12, 13, 14 that you were kind of drawn to, are they the crime writers? Is that what you're talking about? Are you going to Golden Age, Agatha Christie, or was it more Inspector Morse, or was it more modern again?
Yeah, definitely at that point it was Agatha Christie, the kind of Dorothy L. Sayers.
Yeah.
But like there is the kind of television side of things, and we always watched Inspector Morse. And, and kind of later on, then kind of moving into like different genres. I read everything really as a child and as a teenager.
Yeah.
And read kind of quite widely, but Agatha Christie was always a big favourite.
And then when you became a teenager, were you a happy teenager? Were you a difficult teenager? I can't imagine you were a difficult teenager.
No, I was a happy teenager.
You're okay.
Yeah.
What were you reading then? Teenage years tend to bring things like Clockwork Orange, 1984, To Kill a Mockingbird, maybe Donna Tartt, Secret History. These are aren't they the formative books in some ways? Was that where you were in the classics, or were you moving around the place?
Yeah, definitely. I think you kind of suddenly start realising, there's like a set of books that maybe you should be reading.
Yeah, that's right.
So I kind of, I went through, Clockwork Orange was definitely one. And people like Roberto Bolaño, who was a Chilean writer who I became a very, very big fan of and is a huge influence on me, that I kind of came across in my late teens.
Right.
And I was also kind of drawn to anything, I suppose, that was maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit like experimental, maybe a bit avant-garde.
Yeah.
A writer called B.S. Johnson, who was an English writer in the 1960s, who wrote, he had this kind of book in a box. So you would open up the box and there would be the first chapter and the last chapter. And then in between, it was all loose pages. And so you could read them in any kind of order that you wanted.
Oh, it's like an installation. Is it?
Yeah. There's a bit of like a choose your own adventure kind of way through like the story as well. And I like that. There's a bit of humor about that as well, you know. And he did lots of really interesting things, and I'm kind of drawn to things that are maybe a little bit different.
This explains everything. Okay. This takes us right to your book, and now I feel I've unknotted a tie, untied a knot, I should say.
Yeah.
It's little, but okay, so that gives us a real sense of it, because you're now getting into that slightly otherworldly use of the conventional, if that makes sense. Did you go to college and study, or did you go straight into the workplace, or what was it?
Yeah, I was working. I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
And I was then writing in the evenings and the weekends, and writing many short stories actually.
Yeah.
And submitting them to magazines and getting some of them published.
What's that like, Louise? I mean, writing a short story and submitting it, there's a touch of to use the cliche, you're bearing your soul a little bit because it's so personal to write something like that, and to put it in the post or send it online, whatever. Is that nerve-wracking to do that as a writer, or do you have a gentle confidence of your own that you say, no, it's good enough, I'm going to lash it out and see what happens?
I suppose with any short story, you get it to the point where you feel I can't, like I brought it as far as I can, and then you kind of do need to release it into the world, or otherwise, I suppose you could keep it as a hobby for yourself, but obviously I wanted it to be a job, so you do need to release it. And the reality is, like, for years and years and years, you're only getting rejections. Like, it took me ages to get anywhere in terms of a publication. But then when you do get it published somewhere, it's a great boost.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience then to go through the editing process with somebody, and for it to be then in print, and to kind of have that experience. And you gain a lot from it.
Sure.
But you still, I suppose, it's not like you get the first publication, but then afterwards you're still getting rejections, and you're hoping for the next publication after that as well.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about rejection. I don't want to dwell on the negative, but it's just a matter of fact of life. When you get repeated rejections, they come through the door like an envelope, and you kind of open it up like Charlie Bucket going, hopefully the right, the Wonka bar has the golden ticket in it, but actually you have to go through a lot of bars before you got one. How do you sustain the interest and the momentum and the desire to keep going, rather than going, well, obviously they don't like it, so it's not that good? I mean, what keeps you in the fight?
It definitely gets easier. And I think there's an element, I think sometimes you get a series of rejections, and then you might get a rejection, but you might get a nice note from somebody.
Does that matter?
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
Interesting.
Yeah, because at least you feel, well, I'm not totally mad here. and also that someone is expressing an interest of, like, if you have something else, please send us that.
Great.
So maybe I'm onto the right track. Of course, all like magazines, they have their own kind of style and their own things that they publish. So if they're telling you that, yes, this is kind of the thing we publish, you should kind of use that then to, like, continue sending them stuff. And it like I said, it does definitely gets easier if you kind of have a certain amount of success, or you have a certain number of publications. If you then get rejected, it definitely doesn't affect me as much.
Okay, you don't feel it as much.
No.
So take us through then your 20s. What are you reading now, and who, at least at that point, and who was kind of grabbing your attention?
So I think I was kind of continuing to read, actually, I suppose Roberto Bolaño, maybe I was like in my early 20s. And that was like a big thing. The Savage Detectives, which is one of my favorite books. And started reading, I suppose a lot of nonfiction as well. I suppose maybe that's kind of like when you're in your late teens, early 20s, you're reading a lot of nonfiction.
Do you want to mention a few bits?
I suppose maybe because I was reading Roberto Bolaño, I was reading a lot of like South American or Central American political books, or also kind of history and nonfiction books and things like that.
Yeah. So you're reading around the fiction.
Yes, yeah. But also still, I still was reading crime novels and detective novels, and kind of moving towards like someone like Margaret Miller or Ross MacDonald, who they were married, and they both wrote. I mean, Ross MacDonald's probably better known. He wrote these kind of hard-boiled detective novels, and Margaret Miller wrote like thrillers and crime mysteries in the 1950s. But like that kind of thing of excellent writing, but also really enjoyable stories.
Yeah. Again, edging towards your book. So your Fair Play is your first book, isn't that right? It's your debut novel. And I suppose what I'm curious about is why it took so long, if that's not a rude question. I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that you clearly had this book in you. I don't know for how long or where it came from, but we attempted to write a novel before this.
This was probably the first novel-shaped idea I had.
I see. Okay, I do understand. Yeah.
Everything up until then, it was a short story. It just felt like it was going to be a short story, and it ended up being like that. And I know it is kind of, it is one of those things where I suppose now it kind of seems very obvious because it is like detective and it's slightly experimental, and it's maybe like I've been really kind of writing around this for about 20 years kind of thing.
Have you?
You know, kind of.
So you have in a way, as you've been describing. So your bookshelves, all the influences in your life came alive and conspired, if you will, to this point. to fair play.
Yeah, I think so.
And
yeah,
it comes, and all those things you've just talked about in the last 5-10 minutes are in this cauldron of influences and thoughts and ideas. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, let's talk about fair play. This is an intriguing book. I mean, this is a book like the likes of which I've never read before. I've said this before because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And that normally drives me mad because I have a linear brain. I don't want people like you playing with my mind. I want a story like Agatha Christie used to do. But you took us somewhere else, and I love you for it. So, in as much as you can, I find it quite a hard book to tell people about in terms of to explain it. All I know is I got great joy. You know, you can't eat somebody else's dinner for them. So, tell me how do you sell this book? What's the pitch?
So the pitch is a group of friends in an Airbnb on New Year's Eve in 2022 in Ireland. And it's New Year's Eve 2022, and they're there to ring in the new year, but they're also there to celebrate their friend Benjamin's birthday on New Year's Day. They're engaged in a murder mystery game that is devised by Benjamin's sister Abigail, and they're enjoying themselves on New Year's Eve. And then the next day, they wake up. Everyone wakes up except for Benjamin. And then the story splits into two.
Yes.
While on one hand, we're following Abigail in the weeks and months after her brother's death, and she's trying to grapple with what has happened.
Grief and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And while on the other hand, she is now suddenly kind of starring in a murder mystery of her own, where she is similarly trying to search for the clues around her brother's death.
So this guy knocks on the door, Louise.
Yeah.
And he's Poirot, he's Marple, he's all of them. He's Morse. He's all these characters that you've been reading since you were a kid and on your parents' bookshelves and so on. And he's like a Deus Ex Machina. He's where did he come from? So how do you explain him? Because he speaks a la Daniel Craig in Knives Out, or whatever it might be. He has this kind of unusual vibe to him that is from the early part of the last century or thereabouts, maybe 20s or 30s. But we're clearly in 2022, 23 by a whisker. How do you explain this parallel kind of universe within the book? Because I can't explain it to anybody, yet it works.
So I suppose the kind of initial idea of using the kind of structure of a murder mystery came from the original The Golden Age detective novels.
Yeah.
Which came about during the interwar years. And it's kind of, I suppose, coming out of the First World War, where people are looking for forms of escapism.
Sure.
There was like a big interest in puzzles and crossword puzzles and bridge and mahjong. And like those were books, they were puzzles to be solved. And you were supposed to be able to solve them before the great reveal. And the idea of it being this kind of gamification of death, or a sanitization of death, of this kind of, cozy crime thing of, don't worry, everything is going to be okay at the end.
Yeah.
We're going to figure out who did it. They will be kind of hauled off to the scaffold. As a kind of a comforting thing at the time. But of course, now we still have that as a comfort nowadays as well. We kind of still seek out those narratives to give a simplified narrative to what is maybe it's a traumatic event in our lives. Even though, of course, that's not really how the real world
life works. Yeah. Hence escapism.
Yes. Yeah.
But in some ways, the way you're talking reminds me a little bit of what a lot of the writers are doing these days. Some writers are doing these with the Greek myths, where, whether it's Madeline Miller in The Song of Achilles or whoever, and they're taking those stories which were about really horrific things, and a lot of them are seen through a female prism or what have you. But they're saying, they're great myths and tales of daring do, but actually people got really hurt and upset and attacked and assaulted or what have you. And it was quite an interesting way of twisting the story and giving it a different meaning. I think you this is what you seem to be doing with Fair Play, saying, it's cozy crime, but maybe a little less of the cozy and more of the crime, and also grief. And saying, somebody did die in that locked room mystery, and there are consequences for death. So you're kind of taking the fun out of it in some ways.
Yes.
And I say that.
Yeah, but no, it is true though, because in those like Agatha Christie books, people die and no one's that pushed about it.
You
like,
will not see one
on,
tissue in an Agatha Christie because no one's crying.
Yeah, people move on very quickly.
Don't
so
they?
it is the grief aspect that is missing from those books.
Yeah. Why did you decide it was time to, address that or make that such a feature of your book?
I maybe the pandemic had something to do with it. It's difficult to know exactly how you kind of come to an idea, but it just seemed like a good way of exploring grief, I
Yeah.
suppose, ultimately. Yeah.
Wow, that is absolutely intriguing. So you wrote the book. And by the way, do you know what I'm going to do? Pause for a moment because we have some questions. We're live on Instagram, and welcome everybody. Louise Hegarty is our guest today. We're on YouTube as well, live, and this will become a standalone episode in due course. I have to put on my glasses to read these questions. Margaret says, I got the book last week. I'm going to start it tomorrow. Well, that's good, but you'll have to listen into the full podcast after you read it as well. But you'll love the book. Rachel said, I don't think I've ever read a book like this before. Very interesting format. Can't wait for the next one. Keep up the good work. Let's jump ahead to what Rachel's asking us about. Is there another one done, or is it cooking?
Well, I do have a short story collection coming out next year, and I am working on something else, but it won't be crime related.
Okay, so no relation.
Yeah.
Jim says, well done, Louise. You had me on the edge of my seat/bed every night as the tale unfolded. Shane says, what's the day-to-day writing process like? Is it like set hours or a set amount of words? And how many cups of coffee? Good question. Do you drink coffee?
I'm not a big coffee drinker, actually.
What's your go-to tipple when you're working?
Normally just something, maybe just some water.
Yeah, just to keep hydrated.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to answer that question? Do you have a pattern or?
Well, I suppose when I was writing this, I was still writing in evenings and weekends, so I would just have a specific number of words every day.
You had a full-time job.
Yes.
So how many words roughly a day would you be aiming for?
Well, I mean, the book is, it's slightly under 70,000 words. It's actually quite short, but I wrote it in maybe 3 months. So, it's not quite, it's probably worked out roughly 1,000, but it's probably less than that.
Yeah.
A day. Now I actually, because I'm writing full time now, I actually go to the library a lot and I work from the library. And I generally will again have a specific number of words I need to do, or then once I'm editing, I have like a to-do list of edits that I need to do that day.
God bless the libraries, honestly.
Yes, yeah.
What's your local library, is it?
So there's the Mayfield Library, which is closest to me, but I also go into the City Library.
Into the City Library in Cork. Well done. And we love the librarians, as you know. I'm sure you do too. But because there's only so much of the inside of a Starbucks any aspiring writer can look at.
Yeah.
Support the library. It's much nicer. It's a nicer vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want to be stuck there with the other head of the ball. God help you. Claire says, is it available on audiobook so that I can listen to when I drive?
It is available on
Do you know who
Yes.
reads it? Can you think of?
There's 2 actors.
Very good.
So there's a female voice for the Abigail chapters, and then there's a male voice for the August Bell.
Do you know the names of the
chapters.
actors? I'm putting you on the
Not
spot
off the
now.
top of my head.
Cormac Kinsella will know, and he's going to
Yes,
hand that
I
in because
know.
we're here live.
Yes.
Cormac, get busy with those names, please. The great Cormac Kinsella. You'll hear a door opening in a minute, and there'll be 2 names handed to us, which is great. How are you on audiobooks? Do you listen to them yourself?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Do you?
and actually, the Borrow Box from the library, I get audiobooks on that all the time. Which
Explain
is great.
Borrow Box in an instant message.
It's an app that you can borrow
From the box.
books or audiobooks or comic books or newspapers,
Yeah.
but in the app on your phone or your iPad. Or
It makes
whatever.
life very
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
So you can, before you know it, you're sitting there with your audiobook.
Yeah.
What audiobooks do you like? I'm veering off the beaten track, but I just want to hear what you.
Recently, I listened to Yellowface.
Oh, yeah,
which
great.
which is a good one on audio.
Was it well read?
Yes, it was. Yeah, which can make it's a huge difference.
It's
sometimes you can't listen.
a deal breaker.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There's some authors think they can do voices, like funny voices and stuff. You just go, who told you that? You must have a mother who loved you, because you're not good at it.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't do it. And then you're back to the hard copy. If you do. I can't listen to audiobooks because my brain is too flibberty gibbet, and I get distracted after about 3 sentences. But I can read like crazy, so it's a different thing. But you have the temperament for an audiobook. Anything else you liked recently?
There was a memoir by an American child actor called Jeanette McCurdy, I think is her name.
Okay. Again, Cormac,
And
get busy, please.
it's the
Sorry,
book-
do you know Tom? Who's it? Nickelodeon
Yes.
star, showing
And
my age. Thank you, Tom.
She
Thank
wrote
you, Louise.
this book called "I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead."
Oh,
which-
I
yes,
heard about this.
But she does it herself, and of course, because she obviously is an actor,
Is she
obviously
good?
she's very good, and it's very deadpan kind of humor in it.
I
And
kinda like it.
it's also a very difficult story about she didn't have a great childhood.
But there's a prism of humour through which she tells it. Sorry, another thing I'd like to say, we'll get more comment and keep them coming, comments, thoughts. When Louise and ourselves, when our conversation is finished, Aidan's going to come in and we're going to shoot the breeze about other things that I'm up to, but that's neither here nor there. We have Cormac, narrated by Andrew Wincott and Aoife McMahon. They are the 2. Thanks, Cormac. Thanks, lads. And that's good to know that. Adored Fairplay says, Leslie, did you know the ending before you started? That's a great question.
I had, yes, ultimately. I mean, I kind of always, if I'm writing, I kind of know the direction I'm going in, but maybe not this very specific ending I have.
Yeah.
But I suppose, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but I suppose once I got to the end of the second part, you either kind of go into the future, you go into the past. And it was a decision about who do you want to follow? Do you want to go follow Abigail into the future, or do you want to go and visit Benjamin in the past?
Understood. You do this other thing which I love in the book, which is kind of give facts and figures about the suggestions to how to write a good crime novel. And they're great. Are they real or
Yeah,
they are actually? I wasn't sure.
The fair play rules.
The fair play rules,
Yeah.
which are, you mustn't have, a weapon sitting in unused and things like that.
Yeah, no servants can be the murderer, that kind of thing.
And what else can you think of?
Well, there's all kind of rules about the supernatural. Like it can't be a supernatural.
Yes, you can't
element
suddenly
to it.
say,
Yes,
it was the ghost of the lady of the manor. I love that. They were going, did you stand by the rules of the...
Yes.
Sort of.
Effectively.
I think you broke a few to good effect. Do you like to visit bookshops? Jane Barry wants to know, to sign your books. I work in a bookshop and I love meeting the authors that way. Do you enjoy that side of it?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've done that now a couple of times. Especially I was on tour in the UK, so we visited quite a number of bookshops. And I mean, bookshops and people who work in bookshops are just great anyway. And it's nice to go in and sign a couple of books.
I meant to say, one of the things I love about your book is the cover. I mean, that's very superficial, but here we are. And I just think it's a great cover. It's like a playing card with a very distinct type of green. I don't know what you call that shade of green or whatever it is, but it feels almost fluorescent. But
yeah.
Did you have much of a say on that cover, or did you?
Well, they sent it to me first to see if I was
approval.
okay with it. And it was effectively like the cover as is was the cover I was sent first day. So I don't think there was any real changes to it. And it was such a strong cover and everyone loved it.
Okay, because your nail varnish today, for those who are watching, it's exactly the colour of great. Is that on purpose or is that?
Yes, it's on purpose.
So you're on brand. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
It's very impressive, I have to say. Neil wants to know, why are Irish writers so good at crime writing? You could just say writing. Couldn't you? Irish writers have a thing. Did you have any Irish writers or do you have any that you admire or look up to or like to read, or in the past or the present?
Writers in general, or crime
Irish writers. No, all across the board.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of, in terms of crime writers, I mentioned in the book Freeman Wills Crofts, who was a Golden Age detective writer, but was Irish. And I think more recently, I don't know. There's probably tons.
There's so many And you're a voracious reader, generally speaking. Okay. Yes. While we're talking about superficially, wearing a what I thought might be a brooch, certainly not a badge, and you tell me that this is very significant for personal and geographical reasons.
Yeah, it's the Goldie Fish, which sits atop Shandon in Cork. But my sister makes enamel pins, and this is one that she makes.
This is Martha, your sister. You told me a bit about it earlier on. And as I say always, anyone called Martha, the Beatles have a song Paul wrote for Abbey Road, and all Marthas go, that's lovely, I'd like to hear it. And it's a really sweet song. And then, unfortunately, they learned that it's
about his dog.
It's a dog. Yeah. That's exactly what it's about. So the Marthas get all excited, and then we take the rug from under them.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the reaction to Fair Play, Louise. What are people saying about it? Why do they? What do you have? Is there a common thread to what people say to you about your book when you meet them at signings and what have you?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear people having a positive reaction to the book, and I suppose it's kind of it's both a murder mystery, but it's not. So I suppose it's kind of drawing in people who like a murder mystery, but also maybe if you're not, you wouldn't necessarily read a crime novel. I think people are getting something from it as well, from the kind of grief aspect of it.
Yeah, that's great. So that's which we spoke a bit about earlier on. Lindsay Roach Morton is flexing because she's listening from sunny Sicily and enjoying the show on her holidays. Good for her. And a question asks, once you have a debut hit, does that add unwanted pressure to for maybe a difficult second album, that kind of thing?
I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like it was a 2-book deal, so the short stories are coming out next year, which I feel great about. And I feel like I'm working on something at the moment, and I feel quite positive about it. I don't feel. I mean, I might put pressure on myself, but I don't think pressure is being put on me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And were you taken aback by the response to Fair Play, or had you great self-belief in it as a book?
No, I mean it's very difficult to know how things are going to go, and I suppose I kept my expectations very low.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's like there's plenty of people out there who publish very excellent books, but maybe they don't quite work out, or they don't get the audience that they deserve. So it's kind of good to like temper your own expectations.
Understood. Smart. Loved the book, says Dev. Unfortunately, I failed the challenge set to the reader and didn't guess the murderer. Well, you and me both, so that's great. Although my oldest daughter always says that I get great value for money because I'm so thick at trying to figure out who does things in movies or books that it's great. She has it done in 15 minutes and going, how do you not get this? And I said, well, so that's it. So I got great value from your book. The short stories, are they themed, or are they all completely different, each one? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have been published already in various literary journals, and there's some that are brand new. I suppose it's kind of the difficult thing with short stories, where I wasn't writing them with a view to them being in a collection, but they do kind of work together, thankfully.
Okay,
yeah,
they work together. Nearly every film that anyone's gone to see in the last 60, 70 years or forever were based on books, as are so many TV series. People might know that when they're watching them and go, I didn't know that was a book. But anyway, I can imagine that Fair Play is ready to go. It's oven ready for TV or cinema. Is that the plan, or have you any thoughts on that?
Well, there's no plans at the moment.
Is there anyone knocking at the door?
No, there isn't.
Well, they're stupid then. Why aren't they knocking at your door? It's just like tailor-made for TV. Why are people so slow on the uptake? It's there for the taking.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I don't understand that. It's such an interesting book and so evocative. Like I had it filmed completely in my head by the end of it.
Yeah. I find it a little bit difficult to, like, if you write something as a book, I kind of can't really see it as I'm sure somebody else who works in film and television can see these things as a film or a television show.
Yes.
But I kind of struggle a little bit with that. So
yes, I should give you a number for Taylor Jenkins Reid, and she'll tell you. she might help you through that. Okay. I was interviewing her during the week actually about her new book, and she's doing all right.
Yes,
So as are you, but more of that where it comes from. Teresa Pickett says that this is a great book. I cannot wait for the next one. So your fans are slowly forming into an army now, which is great news. But Louise, thank you for coming in to see us today.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed chatting to you and getting a great insight into the process, but also the world that you created from your magnificent mind. So well done, and good luck in the future. Okay, well, now we do this weird thing where we let you go. That's Louise. Thank you, Louise Hegarty. The book is called Fair Play. If you haven't bought it or read it or borrowed it on BorrowBox, or indeed from wherever you generally get your books, be sure to go and get it, because it's just a really interesting book that's in the crime genre, but like in a way you mightn't have seen before. Book club rules, great platform to amplify brilliant authors, and Louise is certainly one. Thank you for that lovely comment. All the comments welcome, because we're going to veer off. Come on, Aidan. Come on in, I should say. Sorry. What's... Oh, Jesus. Day to you. Lads, this is crazy. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Happy birthday, dear Ryan Tubridy. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. Hey, a little bit louder, maybe a little bit louder. Yeah, yeah.
Encore.
Yay!
And quick before the smoke.
Oh, health and safety. Health and safety. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Great.
That's all the team behind
Thank
the
you.
scenes.
Oh, for my 35th birthday.
I was going to say 25, but in the mirror.
Hey, thank you for that.
Yeah.
52 on Wednesday. Do you know who I spent it with?
Does
you
this
do
have
know.
a sad ending or a happy ending?
Bill Clinton and James Patterson.
Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
No, he has a new book out, so I was interviewing him from into New York, and it was called The First Gentleman, and interesting book that. And
this is fiction, is it?
It's fiction, yeah. It's his third one with James Patterson. Sorry, Aidan Power, by the way, joining us just to shoot
Good
the breeze.
afternoon, Tom. Do I?
Is he good? Is he looking good?
What
Come
do you want to do to
in
me?
closer to Tom. Come in closer. Yeah, don't. Jesus. Now,
I think you said move yourself.
By the way, the cake was a little cheeky. I didn't expect that. Thank you very much.
I hope you don't mind a surprise.
I don't mind
or two.
at all. No,
Yeah.
I love it. What I do is I pretend I hate it. But
False modesty.
It's the only modesty I've got. Over it. It's not enough for you, kid. Over it, Tom. Tom, stop laughing so hard. That's meant to be humble. Humility is my mastermind subject. over in with my friends in London in Virgin. Everyone whose birthday it is gets a card signed by everyone on the floor.
Yeah.
And also,
of which there's many because there's multiple
well,
stations.
but
and
within the Virgin
young
family
guys,
there.
okay.
But it's really nice. And then everyone gets a Colin the Caterpillar cake from Marks and Spencer's. It's so funny. And then there's a little row going, who's going to get the head? Who's going to get the arse? And on it goes. Anyway, but this is different. This cake was in the round.
And I hope you got the choice of which end you got at Colin. Seeing as it was your birthday.
And I'll let that be the ultimate mystery. But
did Bill Clinton wish you a...
He did.
Happy birthday.
I said, because he was sitting in his mad room. He looked like he'd been kidnapped, and he was looking up at the screen. No, it was really weird, and the way the setup. But he was in great form, and but he did. I said, "Good evening." It was 8:10 in the evening of my birthday, the joy. Sitting at work, saying, "I said I couldn't think of a more interesting way to spend my 50th," and all I heard was "Happy birthday." I was like, thank you, Mr. President.
Nice.
I was chuffed with myself.
Clip that one up.
Clip it up, but that's for another day. And Louise Hegarty, by the way, that book is a gem, and I really urge people to buy it or borrow it, or get it where you can. And I know a lot of people did. You know, we're sponsored by Eason's, and they give the 10% off at the and which we will do with every bookshelf book club. So thanks to our pals at Eason and all the staff in all the shops, not just there, but in all bookshops. Let's be fair, for supporting great books and great Irish authors. As you know, I'm a big fan of supporting.
Yeah,
so
that
it's
was
great.
one of the last comments. Did you get it? Book club rules. You did.
I was delighted about that.
To amplify authors, and Louise is certainly one.
Yeah, and so that podcast will become that conversation, which has been live, will become a podcast for people. This, on the other hand, this is the cuttings on the butcher's floor, whereby we don't box this up as a podcast, do we? This is just us.
No, I get cut. Yeah.
You get cut. I don't like that. That's not my decision.
That's mine.
Oh, okay. Says a lot about this conversation.
But we leave the cake in.
If anyone,
even on the audio.
Oh yeah, why
just
not?
So they can hear us all badly sing "Happy Birthday" to you out of
It was
tune.
very nice of you to do that and thoughtful. Our friends who are tuning in on Insta Live and on YouTube Live are welcome to leave a comment or two and ask a question or two before I go, because I'm off on a couple of weeks' holidays.
Okay, well, on that note, apart from the multiple and many and dozens of happy birthday,
Thank you, everybody.
Happy birthday, sir. Happy birthday, Ryan. Enjoy it.
I ordered a Zimmer frame on Amazon and I got one for $9.90. Only joking. Go on, sorry.
Is your algorithm showing you those ads?
And the others.
Somebody had mentioned, and forgive me if I don't find your name as I scroll here, they know where you're going on holidays.
Yeah.
And they want to know what you might be reading on that long haul
Really
flight.
interesting. Okay, so I'm going to Japan, which is a country. Every time I say to people, where are you going on holidays? I tell them, and they go, either A, I've been there and here's where you need to go, or B, I've always wanted to go there. I haven't met one person who said, why would you be going there? So it's going to be intriguing. So what am I going to bring? I've packed. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of it.
I can Google.
It's a book. No, it's this. I'm going to be anyone who's ever worked in a bookshop or library will know this bit.
Screaming now.
I'm going. It's a book cover with three boys, like a cartoon. They're playing football. It's by a female writer. It seems to be. It's quite like Ishiguro's book, Never Let Me Go. I read the first 10 pages of it. I cannot wait to read it.
It
was given to me as a gift.
Sounds like
it's like the dream something, and it's these boys they're triplets. They're in some class at home, and
come on, Instagrammers, come on.
It's a dystopia with like a past, but in the past whereby the World War II was settled rather than anyone getting beaten.
Oh, okay.
And Lord Halifax is the Prime Minister, and rather than the Foreign Secretary.
Yeah.
And Rommel is in the cabinet. Yeah, I know. It's fascinating, and I'm just going. I can't wait. So what I'm reading is I'm reading Clinton and Patterson's book, which is just fun, because it's just like a
Page
2-page.
turner.
Yeah, and I want to have it finished. And then I'm going to have that one. Which I wish I could remember it. I hope I.
You know everything else about it, but the name.
It was a friend of my nephew was over on Saturday in London, and one of his friends, his dad and myself were at school together, and his dad John is married to a woman who's a bookworm, and because the son John stayed with me in the flat with Sean Felipe, she gave me a couple of books as a thank you, and this was one of them, and it just looks really good. She obviously knows her stuff, and she knows me a little bit through this. I've never met her, but she just knows what I like. Anyway, it was a great idea, a great choice. So I'm going to read that. Rain and Ruin is a book by, I think it's Ian Kershaw, the historian. And it's about Nagasaki, Hiroshima, because I'm obviously going to go there to those museums, and that looks like quite a short read about how the hell that happened, the dropping of the atomic bomb. So I'm going to read that. That'll be light entertainment reading, God help us. No, it'll be heavy, but I'll read that because I like to read around where I'm going. Anything else? Oh, you have it. You have it. The
good
Book
man,
of Guilt.
Tom.
What's the name of the author? How did you find that?
Someone actually,
Lindsay Morton.
Roger Morton found it on
Lindsay, God, well
thank you,
done.
Lindsay. I wasn't
so
paying attention.
Remind me, called The
Thanks,
Book of
Tom.
Guilt by
by
Catherine
Catherine
Chidgley, is it?
Chidgey.
Chidgey. That's the book. That looks great. I'll come back to you on that. That looks really good. What else? There's.
Well, now that's 3. Which
sorry,
most
that's
people
3.
will go on
Sorry.
on a how many day holiday?
Well,
they'd
it's
say-
10 days, yeah. But obviously the girls are coming with me, so they want to read the Names by Florence Knapp as well, because that's such a good book. The one I loved is Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's book, Original Sin.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
About the Biden.
I finished it yesterday.
You finished it.
I hoovered it. Yeah.
That's really good. I mean, there was books around the time Obama was running for office. There were a book called The Race of the Lifetime, which was extremely good. And this is right up there. It's really sad. I mean, clearly the man's unwell.
Yeah.
But
So just for those who don't know,
it's the demise of Joe Biden and the cover up.
Yeah.
And as they said about Watergate, it's not the same as Watergate. Of course, it's not. But it's about the cover up, not the crime. And the feeling is that people around him should have seen this a long time. Journalists should have been journalizing a bit more, to use the word. And the Biden should have, and his people should have probably said, you know what, we shouldn't run this. And things might have been different. They might not, but it's well
and
researched.
that being the original sin was the concealment of
Precisely.
his
Aidan.
health.
It's a cracking book if you
The
like
Hunter Biden
politics.
stuff is juicy.
That's sad. Yeah, but it's
Salacious.
It's salacious,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not saying that like, oh, I didn't like that. I'm like, "Rah."
Can I make a recommendation which
Please.
may jar with you like to read, and I love reading books too, but I find I can consume an audiobook much quicker.
Really?
Because I can do it when I'm driving, I could do it when I'm in the garden.
Hoovering.
Washing the dishes or whatever.
Yeah, I listen to
And-
podcasts when I'm hoovering. That's
Yeah. Hoover, yeah.
fine. Go on, sorry, please.
So Jake Tapper narrates that book.
Oh, he's got a great voice.
And anytime there's quotes of Joe Biden, of which there is many, he does a gentle impersonation.
Does he?
And he has it down
Here's the
really
deal.
well, where it's just a bit,
whisper.
he softens
Yeah.
the voice and the...
Does he?
Yeah, it's so that added to the...
So that works. That's not a
that-
bad narration where it's
No,
just a
no,
ham. No,
no.
I don't like the
It
ham.
elevated it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that sounds
Yeah.
great.
And it's just kind of Jake Tapper, and he's talking about himself in the third person when he refers to
That's
it. And Jake asked him then asked him this. You're like, that's you, pal.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
So maybe that was a bit Alex wrote. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's good. I like that. I'm going for that. Anything else to discuss? Before?
AOB, as the cool kids say, or the corporate world.
One thing I'll recommend to people just for in any other business is that
I
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you. Well, firstly, there's two things. One, someone says, Ryan, you look very content. And I don't know how
what
one
an
can
interesting
look
thing
that
to say.
way,
No,
but you
that's
look
well.
content.
I would say that is
That's an
really.
observation from a viewer.
I think that's really perceptive. I think obviously I wasn't content a lot a few years ago, but I'm very content now. I found my groove in London. Love this podcast. Love the interaction with our friends on Instagram. Surrounded by a lot of great people in this building here with the bookshelf with Tom and Aidan and our friends upstairs. You heard them singing earlier on. They're better working at their real jobs than they are at singing, but they're fab. And I've got beautiful family, and you know, and I'm 52 now, so I don't really care too much about other stuff. But that's not to say I don't care about anything. But also, sorry, you just got me there. What else? There was something else. And it's so yeah. I think you spend a lot of time chasing the wrong gold, and in life, and you get to a point where you go, no, wait a minute, that's kind of that's. I'll be frank about it. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
So get the good stuff.
Ever
So
evolving,
I know.
ever-changing.
I feel I know what the good stuff is now, and you know what? It's not expensive financially, but it is just it's the good stuff, and that's whether that's you know what I mean.
I got you. Okay, so that leads me on to my
That's
next
but no,
question.
good observation. I am content. Thank you.
Muppets.
Oh, my favourites.
Yeah.
You're talking about the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I went to see the ocean documentary, the David Attenborough.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I felt like, I'm kind of eating my greens going to see this. Like, I want to see Mission Impossible, and I wanted to see the Phoenician Scheme. And anyway, I said, I'm going to go and see. Went to the cinema in London called the Garden Cinema. It's lovely. It's near Holborn. Never heard of it before. But we went along to see it, and it was really beautiful. And somebody obviously gave David Attenborough the memo to say, stop scaring the bejeepers out of people, because there's climate anxiety, and the younger people are like Tom. Look, he's triggered. He's shaking, and he's gone fetal attraction over here. But the point I'm making is that you have to maybe get up back in your seat. The point is, because it's a good news story, it ends. So what he's done is he's looking at the ocean. He's 99 years old. He's in front of camera. He's extraordinary. Like, there's no doubt about it. And he's got that lovely voice. There is the hammerhead shark.
Nice.
And it's all that. So you're feeling, don't die. And please don't die. But like, you just don't want him to die.
He's
you know,
an international treasure.
He's just,
and his voice is a warm hug.
He is.
And now he's under the ocean with Muppets.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he is, because it reminds me of that one of my all-time favourite lines from the movies, when Gonzo comes up at the end to tell the kids, and Tiny Tim, who did not die. And I always feel that at the end, you know, and David Attenborough, who did not die, because he's still very much alive doing this documentary. Tom, it's okay, Tom, it gets better. The ocean is...
Stop making Tom more nervous than he already is.
The ocean is, of course, it's threatened by the menace of overfishing and so on. But there's a bit where he goes down below and he starts introducing us to some of the characters. I call them characters. They're creatures of the ocean. They are the funniest looking thing. They're like half an eye and about, boom. You know, if they could say, I mean, you would put voices on them. Jim Henson, like, hey, you guys. Like, it is completely bonkers. It's so beautiful. And then there's the horror bit where these guys are coming and they're scraping the bed of the ocean, and now it turns into a post-apocalyptic, you know, seascape. And then he says, this could be the future, unless... And then he explains everything. So he scares us, and he says, but it's okay, because if we mind it a little bit better, we're all going to be okay. Anyway, something about going to see that documentary in the cinema, the movie house, the picture house, Tom, is... I stream everything. I wasn't.
Poor Tom.
Tom streams
Tom was
everything.
in the movie theatre only last week watching
What'd you go and see?
Mission Impossible.
How many marks out of 10? 6. 7.
I'd give
A
it
little bit.
7.
Did you go and see it?
I deduct at least 3 of those for the
length.
over elaborate plot and the length.
The length.
I did not know it was that long, and I'm old, and I got home at 10 to 12 on a Sunday night.
I'm not having it. That's no.
So if you meet Tom Cruise,
And
when
I'm
you
gonna-
meet Tom Cruise,
yeah.
you bring that.
I tell you what, I did meet Tom Cruise obviously on the Late Late Show once, and what I'll say about him is the following. Oh, we're out of time. Good night. No. I'll tell you what, it's a good thing, because there's 2 stories from this. One, Tom Cruise came into the Late Late. He was lovely. I can tell you straight up. If I didn't have anything nice to say about him, I'd say no. And he was nice to everyone around the place. Weirdly, just a lovely fella. So that's it. Whatever you think about his extracurriculars, you know, that's the fact of the matter. I can only tell you what I saw, and he was very, very nice. Another quick flex from the guests that you meet, which is I've got to pick up a lot of names after this. Get the trolley out. Is the interviewing Roger Moore once on the show, and I was buzzing to interview him, obviously, and he was James Bond and all that. And I said to him, yourself, and did I say this? I think I've told this story before. I'll tell it really quickly. Grace Jones yourself didn't get on great in A View to a Kill, did you? He said, well, as my mother used to say, if you don't have something good to say about somebody, say nothing at all. And I think that's fair. So
Nicely
that's why
put.
I tend not to,
Roger Moore,
to
a
be
gentleman.
mean. Roger.
Ryan Tuberty, a gentleman.
Sometimes.
Japan awaits.
Japan awaits,
Sushi Man?
No. But Pringle guy. No, joke. Everyone's laughing when I say I'm going to Japan. They're going, what are you going to eat? Like, you
I believe they've great vending
They
machines.
got potatoes.
So,
They have loads of vending machines. Apparently they're really into them. So it'll be a case of that. Yeah.
I guess we should say, in your absence, the bookshelf
yes,
continues, of course.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
We'll have more episodes. How many episodes have we left of
4
this
left.
season? 4 left. Okay. It's been a blast so far. This is season 3. We're already planning season 4, but there's 4 more episodes to come, and we'll have a bookshelf book club as well along the line. We need to enlighten a date about that, don't we?
Yeah. Safe to say it'll be in and around July.
Yeah. So we'll have another book and another author for you. So that's all good. Right. So thanks to everybody for their thoughts and questions, and
a lot of happy birthday.
and all your birthday
and
greetings.
happy holidays.
And happy holidays. I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. And
Enjoy the break.
deadly. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Aidan. Thank you.